Welcome to Fox Hill's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and of course opinions. Today is Thursday, September 1st, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo, and on today's report, the government is helping with student loan debt, as we know, but one political group is helping to make sure that the word gets out to black voters. We're going to have more on that story, soulmates. Meanwhile, former President Trump and his legal team are at the center of controversy yet again as the DOJ has released some top secret documents and photos from the raid that took place at Mar-a-Lago. Then more details have emerged about the mental state of the nurse charged with killing 5 people and an unborn baby in a fiery Los Angeles car crash.
Plus, Meghan Markle finally understands what it is like to be a black woman in America, and Megan Thee Stallion joins the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll tell you more about that role after the show as the show goes on, because we have all of that and so much more. This is Our Voice and Our Truth, so let's do it.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. We start today with a new political ad aimed at the black vote. Now that the government has passed student loan forgiveness, one progressive political group is spending some of its own money touting the policy to black voters.
Finally, student debt relief is here. Here's what you need to know about President Biden's new actions. If you make under $125,000, it eliminates up to $20,000 in debt for Pell Grant recipients and up to $10,000 in debt for millions more. This means 1 in 4 black borrowers will see their debt completely eliminated, and the average black borrower will see their balance cut nearly in half. President Biden is saving us money so we can afford to pursue our dreams.
The group Back Together, promoting President Biden's recent student loan forgiveness program, the Democrats, they hope that the program will get younger voters who tend not to go to the polls during the midterm elections out in November in high numbers. The 30-second spot is part of a 6-figure media buy from a political group. African-American college students and graduates tend to carry more federal debt than other groups. We talk about that a lot on the show. Black borrowers, we carry an average of $52,000 in student loan debt. That averages out to be more than $25,000 than white students. And so, if I were Biden, I would be touting my accomplishments as well. Biden may not be on the ballot in November, but his agenda is. So it's very important that he buys all the media ads, all the spots that he needs to get the message out. So we just passed the student loan forgiveness. There was the Inflation Reduction Act last month. Those are really 2 big things that the Democrats have to move with momentum in the November elections. And we know that the Republicans, all they have is the Supreme Court and women's rights and all of the attacks that they are waging on the American citizens. So I want to see more of this, target younger voters, target African Americans, minorities, everything that you can to people who don't normally go out and vote.
You know, the funny and interesting thing about voting is that we think that everybody knows everything. We think that everybody, since we're in a media, right, we focus a lot on voting, and we think that everybody should know when to go vote. I remember midterms in the black community was not even as big of a deal as it was maybe, 5 or 6 years ago. We just did not focus on midterm elections. And so we always just think that everybody knows. But this group, I thought it was very powerful to know a 6-figure buy of their own money to make sure that the word is getting out to those who, again, like I said, probably are not even thinking about it, dealing with their everyday lives, working, jobs, just focus on our own lives. It's very, very important to make sure that this word gets out to those who need it the most. But I thought it was interesting, Mimi, that you said Biden might not be on the ballot in November. I think that he is. What you don't think he is?
No, he's not on the ballot, but his agenda is.
Okay.
His
agenda
okay,
is.
I thought we were talking about, okay, got it, not midterms. Okay. I was like, President, we're not going to.
We want him there on 2024.
Okay.
Now we do want him there for that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's the excitement, and that's what we're talking about, because to me, I feel like timing is everything. And Mimi, you mentioned all the accomplishments that Biden administration has on the table right now. This is called momentum that's going to take them into the midterms. This is called a situation where now, look at what the Biden administration, Democrats have done compared to what the Republicans, like you said, right now looks pretty negative for those guys. So Timing is everything. This bill could have got done a couple months ago. The fact that it's done now is fresh in the top of our minds. But I do love this advertisement. Very, very, very smart move.
Yeah. I was nervous. I was like, wait, what? Biden's not going to be there?
Don't put us in 2024 just yet.
We got things
to do.
I got really nervous. All right, so sorry about that, Memes. The Justice Department is making stunning disclosures about the mishandling of top secret documents that are from the government, and possible obstruction of justice as well by former President Trump as well as his legal team. The DOJ released photos of some of the top secret and secret documents that are spread on a carpet. You can see it right there, soulmates, spread on that carpet at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Now, legal analysts say that Trump may have thought that he was playing offense when he asked a federal judge last week for a special master to review the documents seized by the FBI. They say the request may delay the probe, but it will not stop it. Tuesday's filing from the DOJ had opened the door for federal prosecutors to explain just how Trump and his legal team tried to hide and obstruct this information from the investigation. This is where it gets into the good stuff. I'm really happy that we're getting to this part of it, because it was a lot of, we're going to probe and we're going to do this and we're going to create a certain team to. I'm happy that we're finally inside the House, have the documents. Now we see it all laid out there on the carpet, and I'm wondering, why did Donald Trump want for a special prosecutors to look over? Because I feel like you took it, so you should know what it is that you have. Because that also made me wonder, do you not know what you have? Was there someone, because I'm a conspiracy theorist, just 1 second here. My conspiracy theory was, because 14 out of 15 boxes had top secret information from the government. Maybe he didn't know what it was. Maybe he had someone literally go and just grab as much stuff as possible. And now Trump doesn't even know what is in all these. But I don't see Trump going through every single piece of paper. I think he just grabbed everything that he thought was important. No, Mimi? You think Donald Trump literally sat there and went through every single page that he got and looked at every single piece?
I don't necessarily think that he looked at every single page, but I do think he instructed someone to grab this, grab that, grab this. Mm-hmm. So he knew what was in there, right? So I don't think that maybe he didn't physically go pick it out, but he knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew he grabbed top secret and classified information. That's why, the whole point of this story is that they were hiding stuff. So when the FBI went and they asked Trump, okay, so where's the documents? And they said, they're all in, right here. They didn't believe them. So that's when they started reviewing video evidence, and they saw the people moving documents from place to place. And so that's when they got the warrant. So the fact that you had to go move the documents in a storage facility and hide them says that you knew there's something in here that you didn't want to be caught. I mean, if the average person would have did that, we would be facing 20 years to life right now. And he's still somewhere walking around.
There's several problems I have with this. First of all, we know he lives in Mar-a-Lago. We understand that that's his home. But also, it's a hotel where other people can live there. You have people that clean the rooms and things of that nature. They could have access to this top secret information. What could that do to our country and other people around the world? So that's a problem. And then to see photos of how they're all laid out all over the place, it's like, what are you thinking? Why did you even take it to begin with? And we know Trump is not in this alone. So at some point, if we can get to the other people that's going to have to pay the price as well, if we can get them on the stand, make them talk, they're going to have to eventually take their finger and point at Donald Trump and said, he's the guy that told me to do this. We'll see if it gets to that point, though.
I love, though, how Donald Trump, he's still saying, even to this day, he's saying that the secret agents getting these documents from Mar-a-Lago were wrongly seized, but you wrongly took them from the White House as well. So it's kind of like, what is the phrase, the cat calling the kettle black, whatever it is? It's kind of like, how can you say that they were wrong when you were wrong in the very first place?
Yeah, and I have them all over the carpet like you're playing cards. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Younger voters tend to vote at much lower numbers than people over 35, but that could change during the midterm elections. The Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade may be encouraging them to go to the polls. The liberal-leaning Next Gen American poll says 47% surveyed are motivated to vote in November. 44% said they were somewhat motivated. The poll says protecting rights was a key issue for voters between 18 and 35 years old.
And New York City lawmakers are trying to decide what part of Times Square will be a gun-free zone. This comes as New York state law limits where guns can legally go and be carried in public places. That law goes into effect tomorrow. The law was designed by Governor Kathy Hochul in response to the U.S. Supreme Court's decision that struck down a law about carrying concealed handguns outside of the home. Now, city council members are trying to figure out what streets make up the borders of Times Square. The law comes as New York is dealing with a rash of gun violence.
And in California, lawmakers just passed a law that would make it illegal for doctors to spread lies about COVID-19 vaccines as well as treatments. If signed into law, the governor, Gavin Newsom, our governor, he said that it would make California the first state to try and use legislation to fix the problem of false information about the pandemic. The American Medical Association says that lies about the pandemic have resulted in thousands of unnecessary hospitalizations as well as deaths. Doctors found spreading false claims would have their California medical license revoked. Opponents of the law say that it would interfere with doctors' First Amendment rights of first speech.
A conservative blogger who says he was denied a spot on the Wisconsin Police Board because he was white won his suit. His reward? $100. David Blaska's suit says 9 of the 11 seats of the board were reserved for 6 African Americans, 1 Asian and 1 Latino person, and 1 Native American. Blaska's attorney called the racial quota unconstitutional. As a result, the city of Madison says racial quotas would no longer be used to make it its police civilian oversight overboard. So it won't make it there. When you think about it, Madison City Attorney Mike Haas, he said in the statement, city's goal of including a racially diverse membership for civilian oversight board is it's legal. Okay, so we make that clear. Also, there was $46,100 paid out because $46,000 were paid out by the Wisconsin Municipal Mutual Insurance Company, but $46,000 of that went to the attorney. So that has me a little confused. So the man who won it, he gets $100, but the attorneys get the big check. I feel like this was a waste of time. What are we talking about here? Why did he even get this far, right?
Yeah, I mean, this whole, to sue because they wouldn't let a white man on a board when, you know, the entire makeup of America, you know, the majority of Congress is white, the men who made the Declaration of Independence and wrote all that. I mean, we could just go down the list and the line, you know what I mean? So, and I do think a civilian police board should be diverse. It should, you know, make up and look like the city it represents. And so the fact that they had certain spots for different groups of people is actually a really good idea. The fact is he may have only won $100, but the problem with this is that now they're going to do away with that. And that is a bigger problem because that is how we typically get our voices heard. There's some law that mandates, I mean, think about affirmative action. There's some law that mandates that we get equal say. And so that goes away. So he may have only been awarded $100, but his bigger goal of having that go away, he won that, and that's a problem.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people that are not African American, they don't like us having our own month. They don't like us having things, us having a seat at the table, and this just seems like another example of that.
Very true. A Louisiana judge who exonerated a black man wrongly convicted in his home invasion rape is very, very angry. The judge in this case ordering Sullivan Walters immediately released last week. Now, Walters spent 36 years in prison. The Innocence Project helped prove that evidence withheld by police kept Walters, who is now 53, locked up for years. The judge says Walter did not have to go to prison if evidence of his innocence had not been hidden from jurors. According to a court motion, DNA could have exonerated Walter at his trial and during the appeals process. But lawyers for Walter say neither the prosecution nor his lawyers at the time presented evidence that could have kept him out of prison.
A nurse charged in the car crash that left 5 people and an unborn baby dead in Los Angeles last month was apparently suffering from a mental collapse in the days before the tragedy. The Los Angeles Times said that documents obtained by them from Nicole Linton's lawyer show that she suffered an apparent lapse of consciousness at the time of the crash. Her attorneys say the 37-year-old was struggling with bipolar disorder for the last 4 years. They want a judge to release Linton to a psychiatric hospital where she can get better care. But prosecutors say that she should stay at the LA jail because she is a risk to the community.
A former prison chaplain is being sentenced to 7 years in prison for sexually exploiting female inmates who went to him looking for spiritual guidance. James Theodore Highhouse was sentenced last week. The 7 years was double what federal sentencing guidelines recommended. Prosecutors say Highhouse abused a woman at the Federal Correction Institution in Dublin, California. He was among 5 men at the prison who were involved in using female inmates for sex. Prosecutors say Highhouse told women that everyone in the Bible had sex and that God wanted them to be together.
Here's an update to a story we told you about last month. A Cincinnati police officer who was recorded using the N-word following an incident with a high school kid is being fired. Rose Valentino was let go by the force after she used a slur back in April. Her body and cruiser dash cams recorded her ranting about drivers moving too slow near a school. Now, after a student gives her the finger, Valentino let out a racial slur. The city's interim police chief and city manager approved of her firing. City officials say trust between the police force and the city is important.
And a Louisville area father is apologizing after he got on a school bus, cursed and threatened students. He claimed he had been bullying his 9-year-old daughter. Delvante King says that he acted out of character the day he yelled at students on the bus. In the video, children they can be heard and seen crying, and he apologized to both the students and their parents for his actions after the fact. King says that his daughter had been terrorized by other students for several months. He says that he had spoken to the school administrators about the harassment, and he says that when his daughter came home with a lump on her head last Thursday, it made him lose his temper. I honestly don't think anything was wrong here. I mean, he didn't touch anybody. He just said what he said, and it just, came out a little forceful. But all it wasn't as if, this was the first time. He had been literally saying to the administrators over and over and over, my daughter's being harassed. So I honestly am not upset with this video at all. I think that he, Romeo, you said just the other day that, hey,
Look, I have conversations with parents a lot, and they fear their child being bullied more than people coming into the school with guns. They really, really do, because here's a situation that can escalate in so many ways, right? If your child is being bullied and then you don't react to it, you don't handle it, it can go on with that one, or it can go on with another student and get passed along year after year. I don't agree with what he did, all right? I understand. You can lose your temper, but I wouldn't go on the bus in front of those kids. There's steps you have to take. You got to talk to the principal, maybe talk to the student that did it, and their parents get in a little small conference room and then get in their face right there. But you can't go scaring a whole bus full of kids. What do you think, Mary?
I say keep your hands off of other people's kids.
And then you won't have these problems.
And teach your kids at home not to bully other kids, and then we wouldn't have any of these problems, right? So I believe the lessons start at home. You should teach your kids not to bully other kids, not to be mean, to hit, to whatever, you know what I mean? Teach them how to talk it out and to settle things so that it doesn't even come to this. The mother in me kind of understands where he's coming from, right? If my child came home with a lump after I've been dealing with this for a month, I want to know who did this, why, and let me go talk to your parent. That's what I would do. I don't know if I would get on a bus full of kids and start yelling and cursing at them, but I understand the frustration. I definitely understand the frustration.
I agree with the frustration for sure. Look, growing up, when I was younger, my sister's 3 years older than I am, so someone tried to bully her in the 5th grade. She broke his nose, so she didn't have any more problems. I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but at some point when we grew up, that was the thing. You want to go ahead and make sure people leave you alone, you got to make a statement. I'm not saying kids should do that today, but I also feel like parents should be on the bus doing all that.
I mean, that's why God didn't give me a child just yet, because I love how calm you guys are, because I really see myself coming in there. I will flip the whole bus over if one person touches my, I'm ready to fight dog moms that touch my dog.
At the park? At the dog park?
At the dog park. So it's kind of like, imagine a child. I'm just saying.
Don't play with Blue.
Teach your kids not to be a bully.
Keep their hands to themselves.
Keep them hands, to themselves.
A nonprofit group in Minnesota is working on an art installation to commemorate black church that was burnt down by an arsonist in an all-white town back in the 1800s. The organization recently received a $10,000 grant for the installation that will memorize Brown's Chapel AME Church in Hastings, Minnesota. The church was established in 1892 with financial help from white Minnesotans. The church served as a hub for the black community that moved to the area in the 1850s until someone burnt it down in 1902. A 37 by 20 foot piece of work will be created to honor the original parishioners of the church.